was supposed to have an intro before that intro. Press the wrong button. Anyway, welcome guys. At today's live stream, I'm going to go through the crypto market and the Forex market. I'm going to show you guys what setups I'm currently watching. All right. So today's live stream is sponsored by Bybit, which is one of the biggest crypto exchanges out there, and they have a lot of innovative online spot and derivative trading services, and they also have mining, staking products, and an NFT marketplace. So definitely check it out. Use the link in the description below to sign up, and you will get a 3,500 USD deposit bonus. So definitely check that out. All right, guys. So yeah, let's go. I'm in this GBP AUD short right now. Looked kind of terrifying a couple of minutes ago because it really looked like I was going to get stopped out, but it's looking better now. Anyway, I'm not going to be focused on this one right here because this is just not really my type of setup. What I want to be focusing on first and foremost here is Bitcoin, right? Because we had some interesting moves in the crypto market today, overnight, whatever. I haven't checked the chart, so let's open it up right here. This is the first time checking this one since Friday. Actually, I didn't really do much trading or much analysis at all. Yesterday was just spending time with the family, celebrating Easter, I guess. Not celebrating, more like, just celebrating good time with the family and taking it easy, which is very, very important as a trader. You might not realize that, you're sitting at your desk hours a day might not sound that complicated and that hard, but it's a lot of mental stress that comes with trading. I mean, most of you probably know this. Most of you have probably had a setup where price comes down, takes out your stop loss, and then pumps directly to TP. That's not a nice feeling, and it's a very stressful feeling when it happens, more often than not, and that kind of takes a toll on you. So I really do recommend, when you have that free time, really take it and really spend that time outside of the charts. It's going to be very, very needed and very beneficial long term. What's up, Rolf? Is it Rolf? Rolf? Probably Rolf. Patrick, welcome guys. So we're looking at Bitcoin right here, and I'm gonna start with a cleaner shot here. Remove all the indicators right here. I still have these levels on here because obviously price is respecting these levels very nicely. I'm gonna keep this range tool on here as well, and yeah. So all of these levels, I still think they're very valid. Definitely very valid still, and. So what happened here was, so around the end of last month, we broke above 45K here. Obviously, this was a fake out. Let's see if I can pull up the my pen tool. It is upgraded to Windows 11, by the way. I think it looks pretty good. Actually, I really like it. Looks really good. All right, let's try this. It's working. Yeah, it's working. So we had a fake out here above 45K. I did say, and I was quite vocal about this, that it looked very bullish. I really like this price development. I did think that we were seeing some type of break out of the possible high time frame accumulation range right here, and this would be the start of a new uptrend. Right, what happened right here is just we had a fake out, and we're now back inside the same range. This isn't really, I mean, it's not really going to change much. We just had a fake out above range highs, and we're now seeing price back inside this range. So if the same development, if the same thing would happen here, we reclaim range high and start moving higher, I would basically view that as in the same way as I would view that breakout right here. But we never really had any follow through right here. We did have a decent bounce right here, But let's see. Yeah, we did have a decent bounce here at the previous range highs, but no real follow through right here. So I did remember taking a long on Bitcoin around this area with invalidations below that wick. Obviously got stopped out, but that's how it is. That's trading, right? We take risks, and part of that risk is definitely getting stopped out, right? So that failed, and we're now back inside the range. So what we're watching right here, and what I'm going to be focusing on, is price action within this range. Because if you look at this scenario right here, it's there's no point in me trying to predict an outcome of this range in terms of a breakdown or break higher, because we're ranging, right? It's not until we actually break the range highs or range lows, or at least come close to range high or range low, before we can actually start talking about what will happen if we break out. So we'll be focusing on I'll be focusing on what's happening inside this range. And by the way, guys, if you like this content, please remember to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And we also have a free trial going on in the Bybit right now. So if you like what you're watching, and you want more detailed analysis, and you want these altcoin setups and the Forex setups actually posted as a complete trade setup, definitely consider checking out the free trial. Right, so we have an alert on GBP AUD. So I'm just going to check this one right here. Okay, stops to entry is my alert. So I'm going to move my stops to entry on this setup to create a free. Basically, I don't like using the term free trade because there is no such thing as a free trade. Whenever you move your stops to entry, you are always going to risk whatever profit you're in currently. The reason why I'm moving my stops to entry is this level right here, right? Because we now broke below that level, and I'm now thinking that this is a good level to hold as resistance, right? And that's what I'm moving my stops to entry, because I do believe that this level will act as resistance, and I'm now hoping that this breakdown will continue to the downside. So I'm moving stops to entry and basically securing this position with a technical reason, because as you can see right here, this 5-minute candle is closing in 1 minute, and hopefully it's going to close below this level, and that's the reasoning why moving stops to entry. You shouldn't move your stops to entry just because you're in profit, or just because you want to secure the position. It needs to be based on a technical reason, and actually looking at this, that technical reason is actually not valid. So I'm gonna have to move my stops here, because you can clearly see that now when I'm taking a closer look at this chart right here, you can clearly see that this is a decent level that might get retested like this. So you don't want that stop loss at entry. So I'm actually moving stops to that level instead, and just waiting for this to hit TP. I'm going to keep on monitoring this in case it actually, because if we get something like this, right, if price moves like this, that's when you want to move your stops to entry. So I actually kind of did this thing that I said we shouldn't be doing, just to secure the position, to get a peace of mind. But usually securing the position, to have a free secure position, most of the time it's based on fear and greed, fear of losing money, and that greed of, I don't want to lose more money, I'm in profit, let's secure the position to make sure I'm not going to lose any money. It's a free trade. But like I said, there's no such thing as a free trade. Whenever you move your stops to entry, you have to view the current price as a new entry, right? So if I move my stops to entry here, the new setup would then have looked like this, right? So I have to view my me moving my stops to entry, I need to view this as a new setup, right? And then you have to ask yourself, does this setup make sense? Absolutely not. It makes very little sense to take this trade. So why move your stops to entry? That's something to think about, right? You need to only move your stops to entry based on technical reasons and never based on the fact that you just want to have a free trade. There's never ever going to be such a thing as a free trade, because you're always risking whatever you have in profit currently, right? If you have any questions regarding that or any questions on whatever, just let me know and I'll cover that. On Bitcoin right here, let's watch the current range here on Bitcoin. Let's add the moving averages back on. So we have price right now in a local downtrend. We have reclaimed the very choppy price action right here. It's not very clear, but then again, Bitcoin's price action inside this range has been very choppy. The only really clear move and clear trend that we saw was this one right here, where we had some insanely good trades, but you know, you had to be quick. You have to catch those altcoins, early in this trend right here. And I do believe that we had some good entries here and here in the business on those logs. By the way, guys, I do post a lot on my Twitter, a lot of actionable trading setups on Twitter. I also post a lot of information from my weekly and monthly trading journals on Twitter. So if you want to have some real tips and tricks from a real trader that's trading professionally and full time on a daily basis, make sure to follow me on Twitter if you want some tips and tricks that might help you improve as a trader. So definitely check that out if you're interested. All right. So do I want to short or long Bitcoin right here? Well, it's quite simple. The fact that we are trading in a major range makes me think I'm not really interested in trading Bitcoin at all, because I want a clear trend. And the second thing is, if price is below the daily 50 and 20 EMA, I can't go long. That's just the rules of my system, right? Now, when you're trading inside the range, you can take, let's remove the 4-hour moving average. So these dotted lines right here, that's the daily moving averages. Now, when the daily moving averages look like this, it's quite evident that you're in a high time frame range when they just keep going like this. There's no trend, nothing's very clear. But then when you have them start going like this, right? That's when it starts going, getting a little bit more interested, because then you can try to catch a 4-hour trend in conflict with the rules of the system based on the daily, right? So let me show you an example of that, right? You can see here that the 4-hour, you're in a trend right here, right? So you're in a trend right here on the 4-hour, a local trend on the 4-hour, at least the beginning of a trend, and then the 4-hour moving averages are starting to trend, and you're using the 4-hour 20 and the 4-hour 50 as good support on that uptrend. And it's when the daily moving averages are being used as support in confluence with the 4-hour moving average being used as support, that's when I'm ready to take on that risk, to take a directional trade, a trend trade within a range, right? So let me show you how exactly this trade would have looked like, right? So let's use the replay tool and let's start right here. So what we're seeing right here on the daily for Bitcoin is Bitcoin reclaims the range EQ, right? So that's a sign of strength, right? So it reclaims the range EQ. There's something going on here. There's something going on here. When I see this, I'm thinking, you know what? What if we reclaim range EQ, logically, it would make sense to see this trend continue at the range highs. So that's my bias, right? We're trading above range EQ. I want to see that move to range high, and that kind of ties in with the current price action as well. So we'll check this example, and then we'll go and look at the current price action for Bitcoin. So how would this actually have been traded? Let's see. Getting a reclaim of range EQ. Now this confirms the reclaim of range EQ. So why didn't I long here? Well, it's quite simple. I did not long here because price is still below the daily 50. Remember, price needs to be above the daily 20 and the daily 50 for me to take a trade. So what would be the next logical move? Well, you have a resistance area right here. So what if price comes down, tags that resistance area while the 20 and the 50 is here, and you're above the daily moving averages, and you might actually use the daily 50 as support to add confidence to this idea. So let's wait till this move is finished, because when you have a top of this move, you can add the Fibonacci retracement tool to find fib levels, and in my case that's going to be the 50 or the 618, which are my most important levels, right? So that's a top, right? Looks to be a top. We now add a low, a fib tool from the low to the high, which is going to be this template right here. Now what you're looking for is you're looking for some type of confluence area around the 618 or the 50, right? So let's just add a level right here on these candle closes, which is almost in the middle of that area, right? So this is the level where we want to go long. So what are we looking for right here? Well, we're looking for some type of confirmation down here. So we want to wait for a 4-hour bullish engulfing or a 4-hour bullish candle, or if you want to take on that risk, if you want to take a riskier trade with high risk, high reward, you wait for a 1-hour bullish engulfing inside this area while the 4-hour stochastics is below 30. So let's see if we can get that. All right, price comes down, and I believe, yeah, that's a beautiful, like it fills the whole reload zone right here, almost hits the daily 20. The stochastics on the 4-hour here is definitely in a very good area. We now switch to the 1-hour, and what we want to see here is we want to see some good confirmation right here of to take a long position. It's reaching, it's starting to move higher, looking very good. We go to the 4-hour. 4-hour is now on that 4-hour close, is printing a bullish cross on the stochastics, and I believe that would be our entry, right? So this is how you are supposed to this is how we get a high risk to reward trade using my system, is where you want to enter right here and stops below that wick. Now there's two ways to do this, right? Because watch, you still have a downtrend, a local downtrend on the 1-hour. So the best type of entry is where you can get a entry like this one, but with added confirmation of a break in the market structure on the 1-hour. So that would be a break and retest. That's a break in market structure. That's a higher high and a higher low. Now, if you get that, you'll be able to have a scalp entry with high confirmation. But let's just see what happens here. Let's assume we enter here, and we're going to follow the TP rules, which is 25 at 0, 25 at minus 0.236, and 50 at the minus 0.618. So this would be the trade, and the average R of this trade would be around 3. So let's see what happens here. That's the break higher. Let's see if the first idea would actually confirm. Actually, when you have that breakout, you can also place the entries right here. But I suspect this might turn out quite well also. So that's that pump, and at this point you'll have your stop loss at entry, because remember, like I talked about in the previous trade, there's no reason to start moving your stop loss to entry just because you hit that TP1. You need to move it to entry based on a technical reason, and I usually look at a higher 4-hour swing before I move that stops to entry. And I suspect that this would be that 4-hour swing. So you look at the 4-hour and it's right here. So that's where this is when you want to move your stops, right? And you want to move your stops up here based on that 4-hour higher swing low. So let's see what happens here. And that's when you continue most likely up to TP3. So that's the trade, right? That's the complete breakdown of how I traded this and how I would trade the current price action of Bitcoin as well. So let's actually look at the current price of Bitcoin to see if we see any similarities, right? So this is what we're getting right now from Bitcoin, and you then compare this price action with that price action we had before. And obviously, it's some clear differences right here. Note how the daily 50, daily 20, the 4-hour 50, and 4-hour 20 is all in a downtrend, and you're below almost all of them. You go back here, This is the scenario we traded, and you see the differences, right? Pretty clear. Here, what we did was we went long on the reclaim of the daily 50, while price being above the daily 50 and the daily 20 and the 4-hour moving averages were in an uptrend, right? And the 4-hour stochastics RSI was below 30. Now look at current price action. We're hitting the 50 as resistance while being below the daily moving averages, and the 4-hour stochastics is in the overbought territory. So this is not giving us a long setup. This is actually giving us a short setup. So the conditions are completely in reverse, right? So that's the reason why I cannot and will not go long on Bitcoin right here, because it makes no sense according to my system. What needs to happen for my system to print a long setup? Well, it needs to basically create an uptrend on the 4-hour. And I don't think that's going to happen in quite some time. Now, we might say that Bitcoin is using the range EQ as support. And because of the fact that Bitcoin is using range EQ as support, we might at least expect a move up to 42.5, this region up here. So if we expect Bitcoin to have some type of move up to the daily moving averages, because it looks quite likely that that might happen now. I'm not going to get an entry trigger on Bitcoin, but if that looks likely, we might have the system triggering along on an altcoin, because if Bitcoin moves to 42.5, altcoins are going to follow, and the moves are all on altcoins are usually a bit bigger. And if we have an entry trigger on an altcoin currently, we might want to take that trade as well. Let's circle back to GBP AUD right here. You see this? This is why I did not want to move my stops to entry, because I would have maybe even gotten stopped out here because of the spread. Now, what you're seeing right here, you still see the downtrend being very intact right here. And as soon as we move maybe lower down here, I'll move my stop to entry and secure this position, because if we have a double bottom here and move higher, we're probably going to stop out anyway. So this is a good live example of why you don't want to move your stop loss based on emotions and fear and greed and that kind of stuff. Let's look at altcoins. Are we seeing any type of entry trigger here on an altcoin? That might line up nicely with the current move on the Bitcoin. So let's look at that. Let's add the moving averages right here. So remember, we need to be above the daily 50 and the daily 20 EMA for me to even consider going long. So we'll look at near. Fits everything quite nicely here, and it's now moving above that level right here. That's the reason why near is at the top of my list. Let's look at cake. Also, showing something interesting. KNC is actually gave us somewhat of a setup recently. I don't know what to think about this one. I just feel like it's very, I'll look at Rune as well. I feel like it's very, there's just something about this chart I'm not really impressed with, but like technical still tell me that I should trade this soon. Luna is close to getting confirmed, and as you can see right here by the arrows, this is something I've been looking at for a couple of days, and the reclaim of that 90 area would basically activate a trade for me on Luna. But looking at the daily, we need to see something like this, right? We need to break above this area and basically reclaim it as support. So I'm looking for another push to the upside. One more push to the upside, and then I'll go long and retrace if it lines up with my system, the same system as I've showed you on Bitcoin. That's the only setup I care about. It's the only setup I'm trading. And about that, if you really want to succeed in trading, now I'm talking about trading, not investing or long-term holding, or in investing in altcoin gems and stuff like that. I'm talking about strictly trading. If you want to succeed in trading, you choose one system, one setup, and you become a master at that setup and the system. It's probably going to take a few years to really get to that level where you feel like you've really mastered a setup. And that's why so many people fail, right? That's why so many people fail, because what they do is they choose one setup and they trade it for a couple of months, and then they have a losing period, and it's changed the system because they think the losing period is evidence that the system ain't working, right? But you need to be working on that setup and perfecting that system and setup probably for a couple of years. That means you're going to be going through a lot of losing periods of that system, because statistically all trading systems have losing periods. It's just built in, right? It's just a mathematical fact that with a certain win rate you are going to have a certain number of trades that are going to be losers in a row. It's nothing wrong with your system. That is the laws of big numbers, right? So it's going to happen on all trading system. Of course, if you have a win rate of 99%, the win rate, the losing period is not going to be as big. But most people, well, I'd say nobody has a win rate of 99%. Most people have a win rate at around 50%, and I would say closer to 40 if you knew, right? But most professional traders have a win rate of 50%, which means they are going to get a lot of losers in a row. And they don't switch systems, and neither should you. Right, so Luna is definitely on my list, as you can see right here. Let's move lower, and basically what I'm doing is the number one list is the trades, is the coins where we see some really good, strong relative strength in the market, right? Wi-Fi, not even interesting. Rune, now Rune is in the same situation as Luna, and you can clearly see here on Rune that it's creating somewhat of a double bottom right here and might form a W here on the daily. So a reclaim of the daily 20 EMA would be perfect for Rune, and it's the same on Luna. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm actually going to move Luna and Rune to the first list, because it looks like they might be activating a setup in the next couple of days. So I'll make sure to monitor those two quite closely. 1 inch. If you have any specific altcoins you want me to watch, just let me know in the comments. All right, what's up, Andy? We got Andy right here. I know he's looking at gold. This is a previous student of mine. Let's actually look at gold quickly here, because I'm actually very interested in gold here as well. Right, 4 hour. Yeah, all right. So look at that. Now what we've been watching on gold is this level right here. Look at how perfectly it came down and hit that reload zone completed the weekly open. 4 hour close in 30 minutes. So 4 hour engulfing after bounce inside the low time for reload zone, and after 4 hour, yeah, looks great. So what I would do here is I would go, yeah, so for me it's quite obvious. You can see how the 50% level right here, you have resistance, right? So what I would like to do here is I would wait for break and retest of that 50 and then have the stop loss below. I think this could be a great setup, right? Let's yeah, so break and retest up to 50 with the 4 hour close in 30 minutes. I'd like to see this 4 hour close kind of close, above, like here, right? So you have a level right here. So what I would love to see is a breakout, hit that level, come down, perhaps fill some orders here, and then trade it up here. So that would be the setup right here. Entry probably right here. Stop loss somewhere here. This is a decent trade. It would be like a 3.5, 3.7 hour trade. So definitely interesting. That's what I'm watching. Now let's see if we have any levels on the higher time frames that can align. Yeah, what I like here is the fact that it's a pretty good risk to reward trade even before we hit those highs. It's a fairly safe trade, I would say. And I would actually have my TP1 right on that one. TP2 would be right here. So I can hear my son running around screaming above for some reason. Might be running down here into the office shortly. I think that would be. I like this. I like this. It looks like I'm gonna get stopped out on GBP AUD shortly. Very shortly. It looks pretty bad. Never mind. Right, so that's gold. Let's put an alert right here. That was the wrong one. Let's put a new one. Right here. And then one below to can alert me if it breaks down. So this setup would be invalidated if that happens. Right. It's back to crypto. Let's do a quick scan here to see if we can actually find something. And on Ethereum, I'm basically looking at the same thing, right? As on Bitcoin. Break above this area and then reclaim this level. That's when I want to go long. XRP, nothing. Comp actually looks fairly interesting. Look at that beautiful bounce inside the reload zone. Like guys, when you have strong moves to the downside, when Bitcoin breaks down and you see altcoin breaks down and it really heavily breaks down, but you see a perfect level here confluent with the reload zone, that's when you want to consider adding to your spot holdings. If you like that product, you like that coin, you think it's going to outperform in the next leg up, this is where you want to start averaging in on your spot holdings, because you can see that most coins that are relatively strong to the rest of the market, if they come down on a dump inside the reload zone and then recovers, it's going to be quite a big move. So for comp right here, it's the same. Let's see, we had probably a lot of other examples of that as well. So it's going to be the here you have on KSM as well. So it's a beautiful area to start filling, spot holdings or long-term position. You can kind of see here that reload zone just lines up perfectly with the the break above this, break out of that high time frame range or accumulation area, whatever you want to call it. So definitely recommend watching at least the 0.618 of the higher time frames. All right, so Monero is looking really good. I moved that up to the first list as well. We got AVAX. What's going on? BNB. I'm gonna move BNB up as well. So basically everything that's above the daily moving averages is of interest of me. So let's do a quick scan of these coins, and then we'll look at the first list again to add some alerts to see if we can actually make create some trade setups of this. I don't know. I don't like this one. All right. So right now we have NEAR, K, KNC, Luna, Rune, Monero, and BNB as the most interesting coins right now. For NEAR, I want to see a push a little bit higher, and then kind of like a retrace and reclaim of this area. That would be the trade on NEAR. Cake, something similar, perhaps something like this is what I'm watching on Cake. KNC, not sure what I'm watching on KNC. I'm just going to keep this on the list, but I'm not really sure what I'm watching. Luna, same thing in Luna. Another push to the upside and then go long on the retrace. Preferably, I want that retrace to be a hit of the daily moving average, so the daily 20 or the daily 50. Rune, exactly the same thing on Rune. I want to see another push to the upside and then go long on the retrace and reclaim of the $9 area for Rune. Monero is Monero is quite obvious, right? We want to see a retest of this level right here. So a retest and a bounce down in the 240, 245. That's going to be a trade for me on Monero. BNB, same thing with BNB. We need to see a breakout here, another push to the upside, and then we want to look for longs on a retest and reclaim of that level again. So that's it. That's the coins I'm currently watching. So definitely keep your eyes on these coins. I think if these activates, I mean, not all of them will retest the breakout area. Not all of them will retest the breakout area, and not all of them will confirm a trade inside the breakout area. But chances are that at least one will activate a setup. And if that happens at the same time as Bitcoin starts moving higher, we have a trade, right? All right, so let's quickly go through the Forex market as well. And if you have any short-term request, I will save that for a little bit later. So any short-term request, I will save that comment and go through the short request comments a bit later. Right, so I just got stopped out on GBP. What was it? GBP AUD. So let's look at that one. Let's get GBP AUD. So this one stopped me out just now, which is unfortunate because, you know, very close to TP, but it is what it is, you know, it is what it is. Now you look at this and you might say, well, you know, I wouldn't have gotten stopped out here, but this candle right here, this 15-minute candle right here kind of tells me we're going, probably going to go higher anyway. So in that case, I think it was a good decision to limit the risk right here, and just reduce exposure and reduce risk a little bit. All right, so let's do a quick scan of the Forex market. So what I'll do right here is I'll go to my orange list, and I'm going to remove everything from the orange list. So the way I do my scans is I go through my main list right here, and everything that's of interest, I'll add to the orange list. So everything I find interesting, I'm going to add to the orange list. Right. So this one is interesting. This one as well. And this one. AUD pairs look very interesting. Yeah, this one looks good as well. CAD CHF, I like it. CAD JPY. Well, it looks like it's going to be a lot of coins in my orange list. Not coins, pairs. Pairs, not coins. EuroCAD. Not this one. EuroGBP, yeah. Then when I'm done with the orange list, we'll go through. When I'm done adding to the orange list, we'll go through the orange list and see if we can find a trade setup. Do I want to trade this? Yeah. GBP CHF looking good. JPY. Let me show you this. I had orders in for this. I woke up and it's like, so close to filling my orders right here, and then it just pumped straight to TP. As this shit happens, right? I'm gonna move that to orange list. GBP USD. So basically what I'm looking at here is I want it to be very, very clear. I want everything to be very, very clear. I want, if I'm seeing a short setup, it's just going to be very obvious, and the long setups is just going to be very obvious as well. So I don't need to spend a lot of time looking at the charts, right? I know exactly what I want to see. I know exactly the pattern of price action on the chart. I want to see a very clear trend. I want to see very clear levels. Everything's supposed to be very, very clear, and that's when I enter, right? By the way, guys, if you haven't liked the video, please do like this video. If you like the content I'm giving you, basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to invite you guys into my life as a trader, and I want you to join me live when I go through the market in the exact same way as I would. Well, basically, this is what I'm doing on a daily basis, right? So I'm just inviting you into my, into that process that I'm going through every day. And like I said, it needs to be very clear. And this is quite clear, but it's not clear enough. So instead of adding that to the orange list, I'm adding alerts. So it will alert me when I might be interested in adding it to the orange list. And basically, you look at this one right here. This is NCD CAD. And if I would be like, if the chart will look like this, not interested. Not interested at all. This is just not giving me anything. There's no trend. This is range, moving averages, is crisscrossing. There's nothing here. But then you look at current price action. Now this is interesting, right? Because broken down that range. We're now trading below that range. So this is interesting because we might see something like this. You know, hit the weekly open and then move lower. Maybe even come up and hit this level right here. And I might want to be looking for shorts up here. Something like that. You know, it's just something. When something is interesting, is remotely interesting, I'll add it to the orange list, and then I'll go through the list again. All right, NCDCHF. Yeah, I'm gonna be adding alerts here because if there's a breakout to the upside, I might want to go long, and a break to the downside, I might want to go short. NCD JPY. JPY is so weak right now, so the yen pairs are just absolutely exploding. NCD USD, I'll add that one as well. USD CAD, nothing. USD CHF, like that one. USD JPY, of course. Then I had a few exotic ones, which I don't really care about. Silver. Yeah, which one is looking better, silver or gold? Definitely gold. But I'm keeping them on both. Then we have oil. I want to show you something, guys. I want to show you something. I've talked about the reload zone earlier. And I actually did post a trade setup on Nat Gas. Unfortunately, got stopped out. But guys, look at this. Absolutely goddamn insane. So we look at the weekly, and we're going to remove all the moving averages. Now, this should tell you all you need to know on the reason why you really need to make sure to keep looking at the reload zone, right? Look at this. Nat Gas came down, hit the midpoint of the reload zone, and absolutely exploded, right? Now, this would have been probably one of the most profitable trades of my career if I didn't get stopped out. I believe this was the trade where I had something like this, right? I believe this was the trade. And the thing is, an entry like this is the profit. Like, you know, the this would have actually been a 15-hour trade, right? A 15-hour trade. Now I missed another perfect opportunity on this one, where when you had that breakout, this would have been an entry on the 618 and then stops below that wick, and it would just basically be the same thing, and the average hour would be 13. So, like, guys, if you 13-hour trades, that's the type of trade that it doesn't come along very often, probably a couple of times a year, but it will be the trades that will make you, 1 or 2 months worth of profits, or maybe even 3 or 4 months worth of profit in one trade. So it's really about trading. It's really about taking small risk after small risk after small risk, and then eventually you have that big winner, right? That's what it's all about. It's about having lots of small winners, few small losers, and then a couple of big winners, right? Or just a lot of small losers and a few very big winners. Most traders I know, they are profitable because they have a couple of big winners a year, and this is one of those. Even if you just take this trade up to the 0% fib right here for 8-hour trade, so if this trade is going to be a winner, it's going to be and you risk 1%, it's going to be a 13% win, right? Now, what would be a reasonable expectation in terms of percentage of profit a month, right? Well, if you have a large enough capital, I would say that even a 2% profit a month is good, right? So I'd say somewhere between 2% and 5% a month is good, right? 2 to 5% a month, that's pretty good. It compounds into quite big profits on a yearly basis. Now, if you get one trade that's 13%, well, you made more than 3 months worth of profit on only one trade. So that's kind of why it's so important to once in a while, have the patience to stay in those trades where you see the potential for a big run. You take that trade and you leave it. Just leave it, let it be. You just let the trade do its thing, right? It's very, very important. Anyway, we got oil right here. Oil is doing something here, but I'm not really sure why. I do like the fact that it had that downtrend and it's now broken above that downtrend. So let's see on the 4 hour what we have here on the 4 hour. We're definitely starting to create a local trend here on the 4 hour, and I'm seeing a trade here. So on oil, this would be my trade. I also like the fact that the last TP here lines up with the fibs here as well. So this trade would look something like this. Now, what would be the TP? Yeah, I believe this would be like a 2.5 hour trade. So definitely think this one is interesting. This is definitely something I'm going to keep my eyes on oil. Then we have the indices. What are we seeing on the indices? We start with Euro 50. I'm definitely short bias here. Short bias. My bias is the downside, if that's correct way of saying it. So I'm adding some alerts here on Euro 50. We then have it's Nike, I think. Yeah. Right. Adding some alerts here. Nothing yet. Use 100. Oh, look at that. This looks interesting. Orange list, S&P 500. Oh, this is a potential short setups as well. S&P 500. UK 100. Nothing. U30. Nothing. GPAD hit stop loss. Good thing I lowered the risk on that one. German 50. 40, not 50, 40. Possible short setup here, but I'm not sure. Stocks, I don't care about stocks. Let's look at the BTC pairs, the crypto pairs here. Nothing. Maybe something on Cardano. Dash, no. So I do have, some altcoins on the previous scan that I looked at for potential long setups, but I definitely think the overall market structure here is bearish for crypto, right? So I would definitely be very cautious with the setups we looked at right here. Very, very cautious. It needs high confirmation for me to actually take longs here, because of the fact that the rest of the crypto market actually looks rather bearish, including Bitcoin. So Cardano actually looks pretty good for a short setup right here. So I'm going to be monitoring this one. Let's take a closer look at Cardano here for potential short. So the fib I'm watching here would be that one. You see a rejection, very nice rejection right inside the short RLC. You look at 1 hour, looks pretty decent right here. So what would this short setup look like on Cardano? I think I would want to... Not sure about the entry, but I do think this makes sense according to the system. So this is definitely something I'm watching. I like that. I like the fact that we have somewhat of a range here, and it kind of broke below that range. Well, if that's the range, it's actually trading back inside the range. Yeah, I'm not sure about this one. I'm going to keep this on my list. Now we have this orange list. So what we're supposed to be doing now is we're supposed to be going through this orange list and putting them into different categories. And the different categories are open trades. Obviously, the trades which I have open positions on is placed here. Then the trades which have a possible setup coming in the next hour, so potentially next day or two, will be at list number 1, and then the list number 2 is the coins or pairs where I'm not ready to trade, but there's something and it might activate shortly. Right, before we go through that orange list, we're going to go through the chart request that you guys have asked me to do. So let's first look at LTO. LTO daily, very weird chart here. A lot of wicks, very messy, choppy price action. What I would be doing here for LTO would be I would wait for a break and retest of the 0.24 dollar area. So something like this, right? A break above and then a retest and a reclaim of 0.24. Let's look at CRO. Zero. Yeah, so CRO Crypto.com needs to reclaim the daily 20 and 50 EMA. Now, I don't need to do all short requests according to my system. Like, you can just obviously trade this as you know, if it reclaims 0.4042, I mean, it's 0.425, this area right here. And when that reclaim happens, the daily 20 EMA and the 50 EMA will probably be lower as well. So if you want to go long on this, I would wait for um, a reclaim of 0.425. TVT. Looks good. Looks good. Data looks really good. You can kind of see how it looks like a slingshot kind of moving higher. So yeah, definitely looks good. 4 hour looks good as well. I like this. However, got this whole resistance area right here, but I don't know. I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think. I wouldn't go long here. I would wait for a reclaim of 1.3. I would wait for a reclaim of 1.3. Let's look at XTC. Yeah, it needs to reclaim this whole area. So it needs to get above 3.4 or at least 3.350, but probably 3.4 is what I'm watching. Let's look at Soul. 1.6. No, 106. Yeah, reclaim this area. Actually looks pretty good. I'll add Soul to my green list here because it does look pretty good. So this is what we're watching. A reclaim, break and retest of 106, 107 is what I'm watching on Soul. Right, let's go through the orange list here. Is this a 1 or a 2? I believe this could be a 1. 1 or 2? A 2. 1 or 2, this is 1. This is a 1, a 2. So the way I'm categorizing this is it needs to be clear. It needs to be like, all right, it needs to be very, very clear. It needs to be like perfect. I think that's a 1. Ah, shit. Yeah, 1. You know what? Like I go through this on a daily basis, and I'll switch between 1 and 2 on a daily basis. But what I know now is like this is the list I'm going to be watching. I'm not going to go through the whole list with the list with 100 pairs. I'm just going to go through the list with 25 pairs, which 25 pairs is much easier to be monitoring than 100, obviously. That's the 2. And what I'm doing is the one list will be the list, and I go through many times a day. But the list number 2, I will only go through once or twice a day. NCD CAD, let's say 2. Most of the JPY pairs are in the first list. And then what I like to do also, oh man, look at that. Did that happen just now? Wow, it did. Oh my God. All right. Yeah, Bitcoin looking bearish as well. All right, so just the feeling I have, the feeling I get going through the market is risk off. Right, it's just feel like we're in a slightly more risk off scenario right here. I haven't really checked the news, so I don't really know about the news. I will do that later today. But just the first impression is seems a bit bearish at this point. Looking at the S&P 500 and the US 100. So yeah, the 4-hour candle closing in 3 minutes. Yeah, I want to short this. German 40, this one as well looks like ready for a breakdown. And then Cardano. All right, so first list quite big. Let's try to organize this with having the coins or the pairs that are looking most likely to have a short setup in the or a setup in the next few hours. Let's organize this list by having those at the top. So AUD CAD, no. ADJPY, maybe. So let's move that up. AUD NCD, no. CAD CHF, let's move that to the top. CAD JPY to the top. CHF JPY to the top. Euro GBP, nope. Euro JPY, yes. GBP CHF, yes. JPY, yes. NCD USD, yeah. USD JPY, yes. And then we have gold and silver at the top. US 100 at the top. S&P 500 at the top. German 40 somewhere below silver. And in Cardano somewhere below German 40, the DAX. All right, so this is not a list. This is a good structured list. I'm ready to start trading this week. So now I've kind of set myself up for a more organized trading week. All right, so what I do now is I know that I have a few interesting pairs to watch. Now what I want to do is I'm going to go down and actually look at the actual setups. What do I want to do here and how should I do it? The 4-hour candle is closing in 1 minute and 30 seconds. So this is a very possible trade right here because it's basically hitting that level quite nicely. So we wanted that high to that low, hitting that 50, looking very good. Like this. So it hit that 50. On the 50, it printed we're going to print a 4-hour bullish engulfing. Bullish? Bearish. And you look at the 1 hour and you want to try to get a better entry because you can't really enter on this candle close. It's just too far down. So you want to look for entries a little bit higher. And I do think that this kind of makes sense. That level right here. Now, you want a fairly wide stop loss here on this one. It needs to be at least 1 R to TP. One average R of this one would be 2.2. I think stop loss could be above the 0.618. But around this area kind of makes sense. So that would be the trade on the S&P 500. It's closing in, well, it's going to close right now. So that would be the trade. Confirming on the 4-hour, quite like this. And yeah, I definitely think there's room to the downside here on S&P 500 down to that level. So I might actually take this trade. I'll wait a couple of minutes. Then we'll look at the US 100. So the thing is, like with the US 100 and S&P 500, it's going to be the same thing, right? Now, my job here is to see which one has the best confluence and the best risk to reward, because they're going to follow each other, right? Now the setup is exactly the same, right? You see the hit of the 50, you get the 4-hour bullish engulfing right here, right? So we see right here. Did I say? I always say bullish engulfing when I mean bearish. It's basically the same thing here, right? Now the question is, what's going to be the risk to reward here? Probably that one. Stop above here. So I think the risk to reward is actually going to be the same. 3 on US 100, and it's 3.77. So S&P 500 better risk to reward. The TP area on the S&P 500 is looks better. TP area on US 100 looks good as well. But I think S&P 500 looks better. What I could be doing here is I could be taking 0.5% risk on both, because it's basically the same setup. They're going to be following each other, right? So I could be taking a 0.5% risk position on both at the same time. So I'm basically trading the same setup with 1% risk as usual, but on 2 different pairs. And what that gives me is, it gives me a little bit better probability that at least one of them will get filled. And if both get stopped out, it's going to be as trading one setup. But if only one gets filled, I'm at least going to be in one position. Choosing one kind of feels like a gamble. I have to choose the one which I think might work out best. But my job is not to think. My job is just to do, right? So it's better just to follow. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do 0.5% on both SPX and NAS. So I just have to make some notes here to what to do after the live stream, which is ending shortly. Gold did not break out. Have my alerts ready. Did not break out. What's happening on Bitcoin? So get the 1 hour, because Cardano, I do kind of feel like this is lining up for a decent short setup right here. It has all the ingredients for a decent short setup right here. So I'm going out with the family for barbecue. Like, we're gonna get lunch shortly. So I'm not gonna take this ADA setup. I might only take the S&P even one NAS trade. Right. Do we have anything opening up right now in any other pairs? NCD USD might do something. All right, guys. So what I will do is I will actually enter orders for these 2 trades right here on US 100 and the S&P 500 as 2 separate positions, but basically the same setup to kind of try to manage risk in a way where I actually increase the probability that at least one of these setups will get filled, because the entry is obviously above price. We might just nuke down completely. Now let's take a look at the news right here. So what do we have happening today? We have all right. This might actually affect the those 2 positions, but it's in a few hours. I might be able to enter orders and then take a decision. If I haven't gotten filled around this area, I'll probably around that time I'll probably remove orders. If I have gotten filled and in profit, I'll probably exit. If I'm not in profit, I'll probably exit as well. All right, guys, that's it for today. I'd like to thank you all for joining today, and hopefully you enjoy these webinars, these live streams, where I basically just invite you into my life as a trader and have you follow through my whole process. throughout my trading days. I'm thinking, so this will be a regular webinar, a regular live stream every Tuesday at the same time. I'm going live, so make sure to mark that in the calendar if you want to see more setups from me and more trading practices, tips and tricks and stuff like that. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter, where I'm at LiBZ42. And if you like this content right here, remember to subscribe. All right, guys, thank you for joining, and see you guys in the next one.